This video is about fundamentals of organic chemistry. So the question asks us to name the following compound, these two underneath, using the IUPAC convention. And the concept of this question is naming compounds using IUPAC convention. So the first step is to determine the longest carbon chain and its type, like the type of the organic compound. So here we have an example organic compound. So we need to determine the longest carbon chain, which is the 3 carbon right here. So the 3 carbon tells us that the prefix of the name is prop, so PROP, and we also need to determine the type of this compound. And so the type, we can see that it's all single bonds, and so it's an alkane, so we can complete that name to propane. So we have sort of the first portion of the name, so we should write that in the corner, which is propane, and we can move on to the second step. Second step is to determine the functional group and its position. So the functional group in this organic compound is the OH, indicated in the color red. And the OH tells us that it's an alcohol, so the suffix will end with ol, so like OL. And we will actually need to change the suffix of propane to propanol. So moving on, we need to determine its position as well. Let's actually indicate that in green. And its position on the second carbon. So we can alter this name and we would have something like properpatol. The third step is to determine the substituent group and its position. So the substituent group in this organic compound is the chlorine, Cl right here. And chlorine will have the prefix of chloro in the name, and then we need to determine its position as well. So its position on the first carbon. So in the name, we should add to the name 1-chloro, and then we have the final name of this organic compound. Going back to the question, the first step is to determine the longest carbon chain and the type of the organic compound. So in the first question, we have the longest carbon chain is of 1 carbon, and we can see that it's all consists of single bonds, so it's an alkane. So the first portion of the name that is determined is methane. The second question, the longest carbon chain is of 2 carbon, and it's all single bonds again, so we know that is also an alkane, so the name is ethane. The second step is to determine functional group and its position. So the first question is the oxygen here, and it's an ether, so the name would be oxy. And there's no position to it as there's only 1 carbon, and you can't really number carbon if there's only 1. And then the second question, the functional group is OH, and that's again an alcohol, so we need to change the suffix of ethane to ethanol. Step is to determine the substituent and its position. So in the first question here is the substituent, and we have a methyl group. And so we just need to simply write meth in front of the name. And then the second question, there's no substituent group, and so ethanol is the final name. So methoxymethane and ethanol is the final answer.